Have more to do, but have done some already.
How many people? You have done some already.
I want to do one.
Who else has done any ILPs? Share your experience a bit about doing an ILP.
Well, my first experience in Patricia's Foundations class, it's mandatory that you write an ILP. And I have found that a lot of other faculty do not make you do that, and so everyone has come to me to ask me how to do it, which was great, but when I showed Patricia my grid, she said, "Where's your ILP?" I wasn't going to turn it in.
You know how to do it, but you weren't.
Because I was afraid of the rejection, to be honest with you. But it passed, and, you know, that's great.
That gives you some confidence then.
It does. And her forcing me to do it is what gave me the confidence, and then her forcing me to turn it in, you know. Because I didn't think that I love to write about subjects that I really like, and I really like this subject, but I didn't think that I was a good writer. And then I've written one or two more for my focus area. You just fill out the paperwork. When you write the paper, the first 3 pages should be like a synopsis of your personal experience with whatever it is. Then you go into 5 pages of research on the topic itself, and then you do a 3-page conclusion that ties it all together. And that's really all it is.
I had to write one too for Foundations, but I haven't turned it in yet.
That's really common. It's a very interesting thing. Here, it's like, it's free, you know, it's done already. And people hesitate. And I'm convinced it's exactly what you said, fear of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The fact is, when you sit down to write, that's, as I say, it may sound really good in your head, but then you start being really worried that somebody's going to take those wonderful ideas you have and trash them.
Can I go back to what Krista just said? It doesn't make sense. Let me share my experience on ILP. My faculty mentor made us write an ILP too, but it was very generic. Get you started on life experiences and get something down. So we submitted it, but there was never any process that evaluated. Was it done correctly? How would the reviewer look at it? And what Krista just said, it doesn't make sense to me to talk about a lifelong learning experience that you have only 3 pages of that up front, and you have to do 5 pages of research in behind it. It just
actually, I want to be very frank about this.
Okay.
I think we as SNL should be evaluating our language, because in fact you do not get credit for your prior learning at SNL. You get credit for writing an academic paper describing your prior learning.
Okay.
And
so that's okay.
That's a misnomer then.
It is a misnomer.
And many students kind of think, but you know, I mean, I've had students who say, well, you know, could somebody just like look at a bunch of the databases I've designed and evaluate me?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well,
not really.
You can try it, but you know, it'll get rejected. Because it doesn't get rejected if it's an academic paper describing what you learned.
Okay.
But it does get rejected if it's just your personal experience.
Yeah.
Your personal experience, the reason is your personal experience is not college credit.
Gotcha. Okay.
The college credit comes from being able to see what other people also said about your experience.
Okay.
And it isn't just, this happened. You know, experience is just experience. It's the pulling back, seeing what other people said, researching, and so forth. So
that helps a little bit, because I submitted my ILP. My faculty mentor retired. So, yes. So I resubmitted my ILP for credit, and it came back that said you need to add more works cited to, in terms, beef it up. She thought all the rest of the writing was good, but there wasn't enough embedded in the ILP.
I had the opposite situation.
What was your situation?
Well, I had a lot of art history, because my ILP is on producing a work of art. And I sent it in for him to first look at, because mine also, she moved on, Joan Murphy moved to the Chicago Transit System or something to work. So I had a new faculty mentor, and he told me I wrote too much. I need to get rid of some of that history stuff and focus more on what I experienced, which I had quite a few pages on.
I like to be really what's the word?
Formula.
Heavy-handed and formulaic. I have learned over 15 years at SNL what will get you through, and I will share it with you. You have 40 different faculty members all evaluating, and you don't know who they're going to be. So naturally you're inclined to be fearful. I'm sending my precious little baby to someone I've never met who's going to yay or nay it. One important thing to know is that there have only been, in the history of SNL, the last time we studied it, there have only been 10 ILPs entirely rejected. Might be. Oh, Michael. I'm gonna let Michael talk to Michael. You have the paperwork at all? Oh, sorry. Okay, what will happen is if it's not ready for prime time, it'll get back to you for revision.
Oh,
Okay.
Very rarely does it come back a second time. There have been occasions of people getting it back more than twice, but not very often. So basically what you are is you're in a, here's what I've done. Some faculty members view this as they're kind of teaching a little course, and there are a few faculty members who have, to my knowledge, never approved an ILP on the first round because they figure this is my chance to share my expertise. Go read another book. So they view it as a teaching opportunity. Others, you know, they look at it and see whether it fits the competence and they pass or not pass according to that. The first thing you want to remember is it will be evaluated on that competence. And where some students go astray is they don't read the facets and narratives from the Foundations book. In that you have essentially a cookbook. If it says, takes a public event and describes it, B, analyzes that event in terms of historical trends, C, I'm making this up, it's not one, but you got to have every one of those in. So my first suggestion is copy that from the Foundations book, paste it on your first page. So you're always going back and looking at it. It's called the Facets and Narratives. Not just the competence statement, but the whole little cookbook that says, you know, a student does this, does that. That is what you're going to be evaluated on.
You said that was facets and narratives?
It's in, this is not focus area because we don't have those pre-written for you, but in all of the other ones,
Yeah,
you'll
there's
see
3 or 4.
Yeah, it goes A, it'll give the competence statement, and it'll go A, B, C, and then it'll, you know, give a paragraph.
Yeah.
It's in chapter 4 of the Foundations book online.
Okay.
Go to that, copy it, paste it on your first page.
Okay.
So you're always reminded that that's what you're really talking about. Writing, you can get kind of into it and forget where you're going. So it's good to have that right there where you're through back. The other thing is that I've invented a sort of foolproof recipe for making sure you cover everything you're going to be evaluated on. And Krista just gave it very well. Start with your experience. You know, let's invent a paper about, you know, say you wanted to learn about dinosaurs in Chicago. You know, there's the Field Museum. So I'm going to, first of all, actually talk about seeing dinosaur bones with my 10-year-old. Actually, what happened to me, my experience. Why am I writing about dinosaurs? When I was a little kid, I had a dinosaur toy. You know, now that I've got a 10-year-old myself, I noticed that kids seem to like dinosaurs. I'm going to learn about dinosaurs using public institutions around Chicago. I'm going to learn about the science of dinosaurs. So that's my personal experience. Then I go to the field, we look at dinosaurs. Personal experience. The next part is going to be, actually, probably not, I shouldn't probably use this one. In fact, I've managed to dredge from my memory bank the most kind of complicated one to talk about in terms of this formula, because if you're using private or public institutions, it should seem like you also don't use any references. But there are some faculty members who also want you to do book research. So let's throw that away. We'll start with a different one. You're a gardener and you want to do an S1A, direct experience of science. My first 3 pages is going to be about my garden. What do I know about gardening from having done it? Then the next several pages, about 5 pages, is going to be what I call a mini research paper. What do other people know about gardening? What is known about skills for gardening? This can be fairly, general. This doesn't have to be, this is not asking you to add, an immense amount of information to the knowledge base. It's a summary of what's known. And then the end, 2 to 3 pages of applying these, putting these together. I had a good one that came through for me to evaluate. It was an S1A about someone who's a gardener who has a good compost pile. And compost is really very useful, for gardeners. There's a